A while ago, someone commented on one of my previous videos asking why I used two keyboards, one for my PC and one for my Mac, instead of a single keyboard connected via a switch or something. At the time, I said there wasn't a lot of keyboards that offered both Mac and PC keys, where I could easily swap between the two. I also wanted a keyboard that had mechanical switches and great wireless range. Well now, I think I found it. The Keychron K2 version 2. Keychron make a whole bunch of wireless keyboards of various sizes, but the model I have here is the K2v2 hot swappable RGB version with Gateron brown switches and aluminium frame, or aluminum if you're from the US and speak simplified English like they do. It's a 75% sized keyboard, which means it's 75% smaller than a normal keyboard. It has 84 keys, including 12 multimedia keys, and all the Mac function keys you could want. I've been using it for a few months now, so I've had it out of the box for a while. However, I can show you what's in the box, including the all-important manual, Windows keys if you want to swap them around, and a key puller enabling you to pull them yourself. If only I had something else that I can pull myself. Now, the official Keychron website was out of stock, so I ended up buying mine from a reseller on Amazon. I also originally wanted red switches, but they were sold out. Luckily, I'd had some experience with brown switches due to my old Corsair K75 having them, but I still would have loved to try out the red switches and their lighter actuation force. Luckily, because I have the hot swappable version, I can switch them out when I get around to buying them. Also, Keychron apparently lube all their switches straight out of the factory now, but I think because mine was not bought from the official website and it was a bit before they made this announcement, mine weren't. This would have made a difference to the feel and sound of the keys, so I'd probably recommend people wait and buy from the Keychron website if they can. Keychron also sell their own lube as well. Okay, first impressions after I got it out of the box, and as soon as I turn it on, I can see a problem. You'll notice that the letters, numbers and symbols printed on the white keycaps are nice and legible. There's no fringing or aberrations on them whatsoever. However, the black and orange keys are a different story. They all seem to have a slight blurriness to them, which leads to some of them being hard to read when the RGB light is shining through. This is something Keychron have addressed with a whole page on their website dedicated to explaining it being due to a colour matching problem with their new double shot method, where the keys are pressed instead of printed in order for them to last longer. So, in other words, it's a feature, not a flaw. There are 15 different lighting patterns selectable via the little light bulb key in the top right hand corner, or you can press the function key to cycle through the 18 different colour options. Unfortunately, they're not customizable. There's no software that Keychron includes for either Mac or PC that lets you change the light patterns like other manufacturers like Corsair, Logitech and others do. Keychron have been saying they'll release some software in future, but they've been saying that for a couple of years now, and at this point I don't think it's going to happen. At least not for this model, and it recommends third-party software such as Carabiner for Mac or Sharpkeys for Windows to remap the keys. Now this might be a bit of a deal breaker for some, but I'm not normally someone that likes to mess around with that sort of thing for more than a few minutes, so it wasn't a big deal for me. One thing I really like about the Keychron K2v2 is the two levels of height adjustments you can make with the stands on the back. This is especially important due to the fact that the keyboard doesn't taper down flat at the front, which means your hands and wrists are going to be in the wrong position and become uncomfortable after a while if you continue to use it flat. That's why I'd recommend another purchase, which is a wrist rest, just to give you that extra little bit of support if you're going to be typing for any long period of time. It's a bit of a shame that it's a separate purchase, unlike some other keyboards that either come with one as a solid unit or as a separate detachable piece. As you can see, I have the plain wooden one by Keychron. They also have a part resin wooden version out now that's a little bit more expensive. I was actually a bit wary of it being hardwood at first, what with other wrist rests from other manufacturers being a softer felt or leatherish type material, but I found the wood actually helped my hand move across it more smoothly and with less friction. I actually got sick of mine moving every time I moved the keyboard backwards and forwards, so I ended up grabbing a strip of Velcro and sticking it to it so they wouldn't both move together as one piece. Now, down to the main reason I bought this keyboard, which is its switchability between my Mac and PC, and I'm happy to say it works quite well. Just switch the toggle on the side to BT, which stands for Bluetooth, press the function key, and then either 1, 2 or 3, depending on what device you want to pair. And the Keychron can pair up to 3 devices at one time, but I only tried 2. The keys will flash blue when they're paired, and subsequently every time you switch so you know what device you're using. Oh, and make sure you remember to switch the toggle on the side to either Mac or PC depending on what OS you're using. Otherwise your keys might not work as expected, such as the spotlight key being mapped to your option key instead of command, which had been puzzling me for months before I read the manual and figured out why. So yeah, read the manual as well. Speaking of reading the instructions, it also says not to switch OSs too often. which completely defeats the purpose of the entire reason I bought this keyboard, so that doesn't really make sense to me. Now, the one thing I don't like about wireless keyboards, and this isn't just exclusive to the Keychron, is that there's always a delay in connecting, and this is especially evident when switching OSs as well. Sometimes it takes a while for keys to register, which has led me to having to retype my password when logging into my computer. And this is another reason why I tended to keep my Keychron K2v2 plugged into a USB switch connected to both my Mac and PC most of the time, and just switched between OSs by pressing the button on the top. It ends up taking less time than pressing the function and corresponding number, and I don't need to worry about the delay when switching as well. It does defeat the purpose of having a wireless keyboard though, so take that as you will. Now, I did mention earlier that the K2v2 relies a lot on shortcuts, and this is true when something goes wrong. After a couple of weeks of using the keyboard, I began having issues. It didn't seem to be lasting the reported 70 hours even when the RGB lighting was turned off, and I found I had to keep plugging it in to charge. At first, I thought the keyboard's auto sleep mode, which will turn off the keyboard after 10 minutes of inactivity, was causing it, but it wouldn't come back to life after pressing any key, like the manual says to. Also, turning off auto sleep mode using the function S and O keys didn't seem to fix the issue either. I thought, okay, so it must be a battery issue, so I got on the email to Keychron, who got back to me within a day and who told me to do a factory reset. And lo and behold, after holding down the function J and Z buttons, or Z, for 4 seconds, it fixed my issues. So I'd recommend anyone buying this keyboard to do a factory reset straight out of the box, just in case. For Apple users who want a mechanical RGB keyboard with hot swappable switches and matte keycaps, Keychron is pretty much your only option. But if you're on PC, there are plenty of other, and some would say better, choices that also have features missing from the Keychron, such as RGB customization. So if I wasn't specifically looking for something that had matte keycaps, I'd probably go for one of those instead. Anyway, I hope that's been helpful. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and you know the rest. Bye.